100 years ago, businesses had little more than a telephone line and possibly a telegraph wire. Since then, a vast range of communication options have opened up, from fax and email to mobiles and video conferencing. Managing all these services separately is a headache and expensive, which is why unified communications is becoming one of the decade's biggest trends. Well, joining us now to discuss the advantages for your business, Dean Howarth from C2C, Michael Powery from Jabra and Jaron Cohen from Microsoft.
Thanks, James. And we kick off today with Dean Howarth, who joins us from C2C. Dean, what is unified communications? Tell us a little bit about what it involves.
Yeah, sure. So unified communications is the integration of voice, video and data over the one network. And typically, or previously, people would have a separate voice application or a PBX, a separate video conferencing network and a separate data network. Today those are all integrated and joined into the one network. And the focus more recently is the interoperability of all of those devices into a single platform, so people's ability to share data, share video and share content all over the one single network, and that's what we call unified communications.
Michael from Jabra, what does this practically look like when it's operating in a business?
So I guess a little bit further in the definition side would be multiple devices with multiple people via a single platform. So what it can mean to businesses is a huge productivity savings. It can mean an extension of their workplace. So a lot of people now, and in fact a recent Telstra survey was stating that 50% of Australian employees are now working outside of the traditional workspace versus 5 years ago. And that trend will continue to rise with the adoption of high-speed internet and also the fancy applications being made a lot more mature. In a business, practically, you can have a small SMB business that can take advantage of this and perform on the world stage alongside a large company, whether that be being able to take calls or make video conferencing calls with a high-quality endpoint, a headset or a mobile phone, for example, at an airport or in a hotel room.
Okay, and Jaron Cohen from Microsoft, you're on the software side of things, so tell us how unified communications look from where you sit.
So, yeah, thanks. So we firmly believe that software will power unified communications because it gives that flexibility to the enterprise to be able to move with the trends that businesses are getting affected by. So over the last year, we've seen a massive explosion in terms of communication. So we've seen growth in voice, video, web conferencing, video conferencing, as well as growth in social networks. And being a software company, we can respond very quickly to those changes. So today, when we released the latest version of our unified communication solution, we took advantage of that change in 2010 and delivered an integrated experience across all those modalities, be it voice all the way to social networks.
Dean, what's driving the changes that Jaron's talking about? The fact that we're all using videos more, all using, well, we've got tablets now and we've all got smartphones. What's driving that now? Because a lot of this technology has been around for some time.
Yeah, sure. And as Jaron said, it's the recent releases by the vendors that's driving that change. Yeah, Microsoft has made some great product announcements in 2010 that really integrate unified communications across their entire platform of products. But also, as you said, the consumers are also driving the demand for UC. The proliferation of consumer-based devices into the workforce is driving the demand from the bottom up rather than the top down. So consumers are approaching their employers and saying, listen, I have this tablet or I have this smartphone, I want access to the corporate network, I want to be able to communicate with my peers when I'm travelling or commuting to and from work, and strangely enough, when I'm at home. People want to be productive.
I would absolutely agree with that, and even drive it further to say that you've got a lot of people coming into the workforce now, Gen Y guys who are used to wearing a headset at home with their Xbox or instant messenger, etc., and now kind of demanding it with text messaging, etc., throughout work to show, with presence, for example, the person is available online. You can talk directly to that person without any room for voicemails and all that sort of stuff. It is bringing a lot more of a integration into the workforce and being used as a tool to actually attract attract staff.
Which is interesting because what Dean was saying suggests that the people who are maybe buying the software or looking at the headsets to have unified communications within their business might not be the traditional guys you'd go to sell it. Is that right? Are you selling it to different areas? He's talking about a bottom-up kind of factor driving the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's very, very true. I mean, I'll close off on Dean's view first. So we've got about 450 million users of MSN Messenger today worldwide. As those users enter the enterprise market, as they enter business, they're going to demand those same sort of tools and applications in their business environment. And you're absolutely right. The traditional customer is not the IT department. It's really been demanded by the business user because they can see significant productivity improvements by the application of this technology. So as part of our recent launch, we commissioned Forrester to do a study in terms of what impact a business could get in terms of deploying unified communication. And out of that study, we saw a 3 times return on investment within 12 months by deploying technology such as Microsoft Link Server 2010, as users were better connected and could communicate in a far more fluid manner as opposed to the traditional way of communication being very siloed.
So the advantages are there for small businesses to see. And Michael, you mentioned productivity gains, which is something that we need across our whole economy, not just for particular businesses.
Absolutely.
So why isn't it widespread at the moment? Why isn't every business unified in their communications?
Look, it's absolutely getting there, and the adoption is now tilted where unified comms endpoints are at a higher adoption rate than old world telephony handsets now. So that inflection point has actually occurred. Okay. So we will see that start to build out now as the applications mature. And to be honest, the really exciting stuff is in the application world, which is what's happening. And they can be trivial applications sitting at the end of a telephone line in a university to allow students to order a pizza via an XML interface, or it can be right through to life-saving, with a camera mounted in a bushfire zone, which will detect fires and smoke, for example, and send SMSs and automatic updates out to various people. First responders out at we work with power companies at really remote locations with only a couple of staff, with wireless technology and an application at the end of it to push to talk in case of an emergency. You can immediately notify any dangers or emergencies that might happen. So it's right through trivial to life-saving, which is, I guess, it's not a matter of if, it is when the UC will be adopted by all.
And Dean, just going back to a point you made earlier about even consumers driving this, the consumer electronics shows happening in Las Vegas, and that's the big talking point. I was chatting with the guys earlier. I mean, I guess you have to keep a very close eye on what's coming out of the consumer side of things, knowing that in the end it'll be that consumer perhaps that wants to order the pizza, as Michael just said, that they're going to be driving what the businesses needs to respond to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been keeping a close eye on CES, and it's certainly the year of the tablet, and like I said, those will continue to enter the workforce, and consumers will continue to ask for the ability to access the corporate data from those tablets at work, whilst they're commuting, and from home. And it's also, and whilst that is the bottom-up approach, or the consumer or the user-based approach, we're also, from a consultancy perspective, we're getting a lot of demand from the top down, where they come to us and typically say, we're getting these pressures from our consumers. How do we implement unified communications in our business? What are the benefits? Help us write a business case and help us demonstrate the return on investments that Jaron just mentioned.
What will the trends then be for 2011 that will distinguish it from 2010?
Yes, look, the trends will continue to grow, as I said, particularly based on the devices and the smartphone growth that we've seen in 2010. And just another statistic is that 1.2 billion users worldwide will be telecommuting or teleworking in 2010, and that will just continue to grow. And that will drive the demand at a corporate level to provide access to those users whilst they're commuting and whilst they're at home.
No doubt. We recently did some work with Jetstar, and their CIO was very vocal in terms of his discussion about how he's changed the culture, his executive culture inside his business, by untethering his executives from the desk, by breaking that telephone and allowing his executives to communicate and collaborate, no matter if they're in the Sydney office, the Singapore office, or from home. So that mobility aspect is really driving adoption in 2011.
Absolutely, and it's not just in a large enterprise, but also right down to the one-man band or the SMB. We manufacture a headset that will allow you to be on a link call, for example, or a mobile phone call, and then transfer that without dropping the call, so you can walk to your car and then continue the meeting. So it's these sorts of flexibility and mobility that Jaren's talking about that are a reality.
It also sounds to me like, the telephone's dead, but two, maybe the laptop's dead as well.
I think personally, the laptop just becomes another tool. It becomes another tool to communicate with. And we're not trying to tie it to an individual device, be it a laptop or a tablet or a mobile phone. We're really trying to enable that communication on any device, no matter where you are or what network you're connected to. So I wouldn't say any device is dead. I'd rather say we're trying to make communication available on all devices.
Okay. Not even the fixed line telephone's dead.
Maybe the fixed line telephone's going to change slightly.
Michael's nodding as well. Dean, the NBN, we must bring that up. What would you expect the NBN will change for this space?
Yeah, I have, I guess, two responses to that, and we haven't covered this piece off. But, the cloud will certainly drive unified communications in 2011, and we saw a groundswell of growth in 2010, and that will continue into the new year, into the 2011. And the driver for that is that previously unified communications was only really accessible to large corporate IT budgets. Today, as Michael mentioned, a small business of one user or 10 users can access many of the unified communications applications in the cloud, on demand, 24/7, no matter where they're located. So the cloud will be an enormous driver for UC in 2011. But with that, users will require a network that enables them to access their documents and their corporate environment remotely, and the NBN will play a major part in that. People want a high-quality network, high speed, and accessible 24/7.
I think it's the great equaliser as well, being allowing SMBs to be able to compete on a world stage alongside large enterprise, because you can deliver the same services at the same quality and with logical groups versus fixed businesses in each state. You can have a logical group of people all over the world, which you can transfer calls to based on their skills or the time of day, etc. So the flexibility is there for SMB right through an enterprise.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with both of you. I had a look at the recent Australian Bureau of Statistics research on what Australians are connected to the internet. And over 2 million Australians are connected on bandwidth that is less than 2 megabits a second, which means those users can't take part in high-definition video calls or high-definition multimodal calls that include desktop sharing and web conferencing. NBN's going to change that, no doubt. So no longer will I need to think about what's the connectivity the person I'm communicating with, what is their connectivity. I will just assume that they're on a high-speed network, and I'll assume that I can have a high-definition, fully immersive experience or communication experience with them. Do
you feel that the uptake of unified communications, though, maybe gets a ceiling put on it until that point where everyone's got access like you described? I
think it'll drive. I think unified communications will drive the adoption of technologies like NBN. There's ways around it today. I mean, I'm lucky that I happen to be connected on a 100 megabit internet connection at home. But I would suggest that I'm one of the few as opposed to one of the many. And that's because technology like high-definition video is so important to me. As NBN gets rolled out, I think it's just going to become the norm. It's just going to become the accepted way of working, and it'll become accepted to be able to start a high-definition video call between two people.
I think there's some really smart things going on the application side as well, that with compression, etc., and possibly not with a full suite such as being at a 100 megabit connection, but you can be on a ferry to Manly with a 1 meg broadband now anywhere in Sydney, a lot of regional places in Australia, and have access to a full suite of services, almost as if you were at work. I work from home quite a bit on long conference calls, and with a noise-cancelling headset with a good internet connection, I can perform my task as if I was sitting at my desk, which not only allows me to do my work, but allows me to attend my social and family functions, which is not just about corporate, but it's about life-changing stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Michael Powery from Jabra, thank you so much. Jaren Cohen from Microsoft, appreciate your time. And from Melbourne, Dean Howarth from C2C.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure.
And that's all for this week's edition of Technology Behind Business. You can watch the show again on our website at skynews.com.au. I'm James Daganixon. Thanks for your company.